Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling, well, a really fascinating contradiction. You've got the richest woman in America, maybe the world, depending on the day, who essentially steps away from this massive corporate empire.
We're talking Walmart, right? The absolute giant.
Exactly. Heir to this, what is it now, $648 billion revenue company.
Over 10,000 stores, yeah. It's staggering. And she's personally worth something like $116 billion.
Right. And instead of taking the reins, the expected path,
The corporate throne, basically.
Yeah, she dedicates that fortune to art, to healing, and even shaking up higher education. It's an extraordinary story.
It really is, because the Walton family dynasty is huge, and the expectation for an heir is usually quite clear.
Step up, lead.
Right. But Alice, well, she never really joined Walmart leadership like her brothers did. She just rejected that definition of power from the start.
So that's our focus today. We're diving into the sources on Alice Walton, trying to understand this really unconventional strategy she's pursued.
Trading that direct corporate control for a different kind of influence, more cultural, more social.
And we have to keep this central tension in mind. It's crucial.
Which it is.
That all these amazing institutions, she's building the free museum, the free medical school. They're funded by wealth generated by Walmart.
The company often criticized for, well, low wages, labor practices, that whole side of things.
It's the core paradox, isn't it?
Yeah.
Using the fruits of that corporate machine for systemic healing and democratizing culture.
Absolutely. So our mission here is to unpack how she navigates that, how personal experiences, maybe even failures, shaped this path.
Okay, so let's start with that rejection of the corporate path. She did try something else first, didn't she? Outside Walmart.
She did. It wasn't like she immediately went into philanthropy. There was this expectation, as you said, for heirs to, do something.
And she chose finance. Seems pretty standard for someone with that background.
Right. Got her degree in economics and finance. Then, in the late 80s, she founded her own investment firm down in Arkansas.
The Llama Company, I read that.
The Llama Company, yeah. And look, this wasn't just some hobby project. They were doing serious work.
Like what?
Underwriting bonds for some really big infrastructure projects. Actually, they were key in financing the Northwest Arkansas Regional Airport.
Oh, wow. Okay, so she had the chops for it. She proved she could build something in finance.
Definitely showed the acumen. Seemed like she was carving out her own space.
But it didn't last.
No. By 1998, Llama Company shut down. Combination of things, it seems. Market pressures, maybe some internal issues. It basically failed.
Ah, okay, so this is the moment, right? The fork in the road.
Exactly. Most heirs facing a business failure like that, they'd probably head straight back to the mothership.
To the Stacey of Walmart, the $600 billion cushion.
Right. Guaranteed security. But Alice, she did the opposite. She walked away from finance completely after that failure.
The failure wasn't a reason to retreat. It was more like a confirmation that this wasn't her path.
It feels like that, reading the sources, a necessary redirection. It showed maybe a kind of courage to just abandon something that wasn't working for her, instead of trying to force it.
She didn't need her value tied to a profit and loss sheet, maybe.
And that links into how her wealth actually works, which is really important here.
What do you mean? The $116 billion.
Yeah. We keep throwing that number around, but according to the sources, most of it is passive wealth.
Passive? How?
It's tied almost entirely to the appreciation of Walmart stock. She inherited it, holds it, and it grows as the company grows.
Wait, so she's not earning it through daily corporate decisions or running divisions. It's just growing because she holds the stock.
Largely, yes,
Yeah.
Which is a massive distinction. It means she wasn't spending decades climbing the corporate ladder, fighting operational fires.
That frees up a lot of mental energy, doesn't it? If you're not chasing the billions, but the billions are just accumulating.
It absolutely changes the focus. Her active pursuit, her energy, wasn't needed for generating more wealth in the traditional corporate sense. It shifted towards, okay, what's the legacy? What do I do with this passively growing mountain of money?
Which led her away from finance and towards culture, art.
Precisely. That became her first really big public move, redefining wealth not as something to hoard, but as a tool for access. Public access.
The Crystal Bridges Museum of American Art.
Exactly. And this wasn't just, buying pretty pictures. This was a strategic move, a philosophical statement even.
Okay, but I have to ask about the location. Bentonville, Arkansas. Why not New York? LA, London? build a wing at the Met or something? It seems small town for that kind of money.
But that's the whole point. She was deliberately rejecting that coastal elite gallery scene. The sources are pretty clear on this.
Rejecting the exclusivity.
Yeah, geographic gatekeeping. She wanted people in the middle of the country in places like Arkansas, people who maybe had never set foot in a major art museum, to have access to world-class art for free.
And making it free was key from the start.
Absolutely foundational. Before it even opened, she made that commitment. And she anchored it with a major purchase, too.
Right, that famous painting.
Asher Brown Duran's Kindred Spirits. Bought it in 2005 for $35 million, specifically for this public museum. A huge signal.
And admission is still free.
Still free, over 5 million visitors so far, many from rural areas nearby. It really embodies that, quote, attributed to her. People deserve beauty no matter where they live.
That's powerful. And you mentioned something about her deep engagement with the art. It's not just passive ownership.
No, it seems much more involved. The museum itself, the architecture, how it's built into the landscape, the trails around it. It's designed to be an experience.
An immersion.
Yeah, integrating nature, history, architecture with the art. It treats the art as part of a living conversation, not just, static assets hanging on a wall.
Okay, so she builds this incredible engine for cultural access, maybe even cultural healing in a way. But then comes another major pivot towards actual physical healing, healthcare. Where did that impulse come from? It seems even more personal.
It connects directly back to a huge personal trauma in her life.
The car accident.
The devastating car accident back in 1983. It was catastrophic.
Life-altering, the sources say.
Completely. Massive injuries. She's needed something like more than 20 surgeries over her lifetime because of it, left her with chronic pain.
Wow.
And that experience is crucial. She went through the American healthcare system not as a billionaire who could bypass everything, but as a patient dealing with long-term, intense suffering.
So the money couldn't just buy her way out of the pain or the systemic issues she encountered.
Exactly. It gave her this deep conviction, it seems, that while money can't erase suffering itself, it can be used to build different kinds of systems. Systems focused on prevention, on wellness, on integrated care, not just reacting to sickness.
And that conviction led to actual institutions.
Her most ambitious projects yet, arguably. First, the Whole Health Institute in 2020. And then the really big one, the Alice Walton School of Medicine. Awesome.
Okay.
Hey.
That just opened recently, right, in 2025?
Yeah, opened its doors. And the decision they made about tuition is, well, it's radical.
This is the tuition-free part.
Yes. The first 5 entering classes, starting with 48 students in this initial cohort, will pay 0 tuition.
Is 0 in the U.S., where medical students graduate with, what is it, $200,000 in debt on average?
Easily, sometimes much more. So this is a direct, massive challenge to that entire model. She's using her resources to just wipe out that debt burden for these initial doctors.
That's incredible. But is it just about the money, or is the school itself different?
It aims to be different philosophically, too. The curriculum integrates things you don't usually see front and center in medical school.
Like?
Mindfulness, nutrition science, but also things like using art appreciation to sharpen future doctors' observational skills. It's a whole person approach, mirroring the Whole Health Institute's philosophy.
Wow. It's like taking the profits from this giant, often criticized retail machine and pouring them into creating the absolute opposite, a nonprofit, debt-free, holistically focused medical system.
It's a fascinating redirection of capital, isn't it? Playing the long game to try and reshape the very system she found lacking.
So let's try and synthesize this. Her whole approach seems to be a rejection of traditional power, right?
I think so. She turned away from the hard power controlling the corporation, the boardrooms, the direct economic engine of Walmart.
Which employs, what, 2.1 million people globally? That's immense power.
Immense. And she chose instead a kind of soft power, the power of influencing culture, influencing health, shaping opportunity through these long-term institutions.
It's that paradox again. In her family, power meant running Walmart. For her, power seems to mean building things that might slowly change the world outside of Walmart.
And it requires a different mindset, patience, a focus on legacy.
What do you mean legacy game?
Well, building a museum like Crystal Bridges, its full impact unfolds over decades, right? Same with a medical school. You don't see the systemic results for maybe 30, 50 years as graduates go out and practice differently.
So she's not looking for quick wins or quarterly reports. She's building for generations.
Seems to be the strategy, building institutions that endure rather than chasing headlines or short-term financial returns.
And we should also acknowledge the sources don't paint her as some perfect saint, do they?
No, not at all. They mention her past legal issues, arrest for driving under the influence, though she was never convicted. It presents her as complex, flawed.
Which, in a way, makes the story more relatable, more about how someone channels their own vulnerabilities and mistakes.
Perhaps. It links that personal struggle, the pain from the accident, maybe even lessons from failures like the Llama Company, directly into the why behind these huge, purposeful projects.
Translating crisis into creation, almost.
Yeah. And if you tie it all together, what does it suggest? That maybe true wealth, or the best use of it, isn't about how much power you can hoard.
But about how much suffering you can potentially reduce, or how much meaning or beauty you can create and share.
Exactly. She traded that potential corporate throne for a different kind of influence, one focused on culture and healing. Less spotlight, perhaps, but aiming for a more enduring legacy.
So her ultimate choice, with this $116 billion she largely inherited passively, was not to use it to further dominate markets, but to try and redefine well-being, to build systems making beauty and health accessible, regardless of someone's bank balance.
That seems to be the core philosophical bet she's making, a powerful statement about responsibility, especially given the source of the funds.
Right, that paradox remains, using the engine of Walmart with all its criticisms.
To fund the very things, accessible art, debt-free medical education, that push against some of the economic pressures that engine might create. It's complicated.
Definitely complicated. So maybe the question we leave everyone mulling over is this. We see Alice Walton turning personal crises, accidents, failures, pain into the driving force behind these huge, decades-long projects. If wealth, at any scale, really is about releasing possibility, not just holding on to power.
Yeah.
What's one small thing, maybe, that you could start building in your own life? Something that reflects a long-term commitment to meaning, turning your own vulnerabilities or experiences into something purposeful, something that might last.
That's a great question to sit with. What endures beyond the immediate?